Well, hello, everybody. It's Dr. Hank, and welcome to the Dr. Hank Show. And besides having a lot of fun here and expanding your imagination and creativity to beyond where it's ever been before, to have your dreams come true, we also have amazing guests on our this amazing magical podcast. And today is really a man. He has been in four different network marketing businesses and at the top of his game. And he is a heck of a guy, too, just a wonderful man and a family man. And so let me introduce to you John Solleder. John, hello, and welcome to the show.
Well, Dr. Hank, it's a privilege to be with you, my friend.
Well, it's good. I was on your show, and your show, Leave Nothing to Chance, and your book also, Leave Nothing to Chance. And so I know those are two just amazing things. And, I think we'd like to really, we're all eager to hear, what was your path? And so when you kind of look like, how did you first get into business and what really became your passion?
Started my first business in high school.
Wow.
Cutting lawns, plowing snow, etc. When I was 14, so I had the entrepreneurial desire to make money early on, and I was real proud that when I started those first businesses, there were some guys who had come back from military service that were older, that lived in my neighborhood, and they were looking for jobs. And I was able to actually provide them jobs, even though I was in high school. So that was my first business. And then I kind of got out of business, and I went to university. And ironically, in April of 1983, I was about to graduate Seton Hall University in South Orange, New Jersey, and known for our basketball team, but actually really known for our academics. But people in different parts of the country, they know Seton Hall had some good ball players.
Right.
But more than that, Dr. Hank, fellow walked in who I had wrestled with in high school, and he told me about a company, direct selling company. And he said, look, you could have your own business. And at that time, I was looking for my first job. And my resume consisted of my name and my phone number, right? Because in those days, there were no email and no texts and no great stuff that we have today, right? But I didn't really have any experience doing much of anything. So I joined that company, and I wrote him a hot check for $32. It cost $32 to join. And I said, Tommy, if you'll hold this check till Friday, I didn't tell him which Friday, but I said, hold it till Friday. And because he was a friend, he was kind enough to do that. But my very first month, which was April of 1983, I made about $800, which was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
College kid. And all I did was talk to people. I told them about the products that this company sold. And I can say the name of the company. It's no big deal. Still in business, Herbalife. That was my start. And then I was still in the process of looking for my first real job.
Yeah.
And May 18th, 1983, Ronald Reagan comes to speak at our college commencement. And when Reagan spoke, he had this ability that, very few people throughout history have had. I think Churchill probably had it. Certainly our Lord and Savior certainly had it.
Sure.
And probably some other great people along the way probably had it. But he had that ability where, even though he was speaking to 4,000 people, I felt like he was speaking to me. Yeah. And at that point in my journey, I was still on the idea that the government was going to provide for me, and all that sort of nonsense that I figured out wasn't going to work, right? And Reagan started to speak about what had happened and was happening with the Soviet Union, and how capitalism frees people. And I went from sitting in the back of my chair with my arms kind of folded like this to sitting in the front of my chair. And when the president was done, he had spoken about not only entrepreneurship and capitalism, but more than that, mentorship. He said, if you want to do something in your life, find somebody who successfully has done it, who can teach you it. Wow. And I said, you know what? I really like this direct selling business. I like working for myself. I like, getting up when I want, going to bed when I want, calling my own shots. I was kind of getting into that mold already. And lo and behold, I listened to President Reagan. He was really my first mentor, if you will.
That's awesome. I love that. And you mentioned capitalism, and I'm not sure everybody really understands on that, but can you share your thoughts on capitalism and why it is so important?
Well, I think it's the most important ism that there is
Mm.
for this reason. Uh, it frees people. As we speak, doctor, we see people getting into our country, and take all the politics out of it. There's
Yeah,
the reason they want to come here, and
yeah,
that's that we still have the greatest show on earth, because somebody can come here
right,
with, you know, from a different part of the world where perhaps opportunity does not exist. Maybe not for them, but they're thinking about their kids.
yeah,
And they're
right,
thinking, let me find a way for my kids to have a shot. And in
yeah,
America, and in any capitalist country, be it here, be it Canada, be it England, be it Germany, Japan,
right,
any of the capitalist societies in the world,
yeah,
people gravitate towards them because at least they know they got a shot. And
yeah,
perhaps where they're coming from, no matter what they do, no matter how hard they work, they don't have an opportunity. And that's what Reagan expressed that day that the
yeah,
Russian people wanted. The Russian people wanted what we got. They
right,
wanted not only choice when they go to the supermarket or the
mm,
clothing store, a variety, but they
right,
wanted that opportunity that you and I as Americans take for granted. And
exactly,
that was the day that I got it. I mean, the president was so clear. Our greatest president in my lifetime, certainly by far. I look at all these current guys and I just gotta roll my eyes. But once again, politics aside, Reagan was able to communicate that message of capitalism has the ability to free people like no other ism did. Is
yeah,
it flawed? Sure. Are there problems with it? Absolutely. But it
no.
still beats the heck out of all the other isms out there. So I became a capitalist that day.
That's
And
fantastic. I love it. And you've taken advantage of that, and you have risen to the top of business, and again in four different businesses that you've done that. And what would you contribute most to your success, Jim?
I think a few things. Number one, I am still a student. At 61 years of age, I am still a voracious reader. I've become a podcast junkie. I listen to and podcast
Mm,
of anybody who's got a message or guests that I want to hear,
yeah,
and a variety of topics. Obviously, I'm interested in business, but at the end of the day, I'm also interested. For example, I listen to Rick Warren just about every day. I listen to other pastors that I respect.
mm,
And I also listen on health stuff because I'm very into my personal health. I've been on a personal
yeah,
health journey the last 40 years, but the last couple of years in particular. So I'm constantly listening and learning. And I think that guidance is out there today. We can learn things better today than we could when you and I were young, where you only had the ability to read. Today, it's like,
yeah,
hey, if I'm not a reader, I can
yeah,
listen.
right,
Listen in the
right.
car, listen on the treadmill, listen when you walk the dog, right? You constantly have the ability to get great information from really smart people. So take full advantage of it.
Absolutely. And I want to share with everybody that John has been a power lifter, been a wrestler, done Sambo, SOMBO, track and field. I mean, you athleticism, and how has that helped you in business?
Well, a couple of ways. Number one, I learned early on because the sports I did were always individual sports: wrestling, judo,
Yeah,
sambo, eventually jujitsu, or in black belts in judo, or in black belts in jujitsu.
right, right.
Competed, as you said, in sambo, which is Russian wrestling. A lot of people aren't familiar with it. It's
Oh
kind
my
of
God,
it's
yeah,
a combination of freestyle wrestling and judo. You wear a judo type of gi with a wrestling singlet.
wow,
And of course, track came later for me. I never did track when I was young. I meddled with it, but kind of conflicted with my other sports. So
yeah,
got into throwing shot puts and things as I got older, but powerlifting, bench press competitions. So not only does it keep me fit, but it also keeps me focused. But also because they're individual pursuits, I realized that I don't have a team backing me up.
yeah,
So if it's to be, it's up to me. And that's a mantra that exists also in my business. Okay. Even though I have a team, I've got a company, I've got an organization, et cetera, et cetera. At the
mhm,
end of the day, what I do, I can affect. What anybody
yeah,
else does or does not do, I have no ability to make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. But I do have the ability to make sure that I do what I need to do on a daily basis. And
Yeah.
that becomes daily method of operation, which I talk about in all of my books of how to run your business. No different than the person who buys a franchise and they go to the franchise school and they teach them, how to make the hamburgers or how to make the sandwiches or how to cut the hair or whatever it is. It's the same thing in direct selling. You have to have a daily method of operation. You have to have a way that you get up every day and go to work and employ yourself. So
yeah, that's awesome. I just love that. And hopefully you all are taking notes. Again, you're listening to one of America's wisest businessmen and successful businessman, and owns a bunch of homes and whatever that, but he's a wonderful man also, and he has a lot of wisdom. And one of the things I just wrote down, if it's to be, it's up to me. And so I would encourage all of us to take that wisdom and take that home. And where can we get, it's Leave Nothing to Chance, your book. Where is that available?
Leave Nothing to Chance, okay, is my latest book, and the prior one is Moving Up 2020. Available on Amazon, English and Spanish. Okay, we have everything in Spanish also.
Awesome.
And of course, our podcast, which you can see the backdrop of, is Leaving Nothing to Chance .com. And we've interviewed, including yourself, you're coming up here October 4th.
Right.
We've interviewed just so many wonderful, smart people that give, and what I love about the podcast is people aren't holding back. They're giving. Hey, here's what I did, be it on my health, be it on my business, be it on how to create equity in the marketplace, right, during the inflation that we're under. All of these great things that exist, as they do on your show as well, of people just sharing, hey, here's the way I can help you.
Right, exactly. Well, before we went on the show, I'd say, John, I know you're not selling anything, if you will, that you just have some amazing resources in order to help people. And again, John's last name, Solleder, and it's Solleder. And you could get that on Amazon. Again, his podcast, Leave Nothing to Chance. And he has a lot of business people, but he also has a lot of other interesting people that really is about life. And this is what both John and I do, is we want to help you to enjoy the good life. Christ promised us the abundant life, and most people don't live that way. And that's because, I'm a mental scientist, and I know out of those 60,000 thoughts we have every day, 80% of them are unwanted or negative thoughts. And so it's about, really changing your thoughts. And speaking of that, John, so how would you, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs? And, there's a lot of, and again, these network marketing companies, 30, 40 years ago, some of them were ripoffs, and you just had to buy a bunch of product or whatever. I mean, this is really a way to empower all the people. In essence, what you do is share the revenue with the companies, and so many people are in this. And again, you're at the top of that industry, and can improve it in a lot of different ways, to include financially. That what counsel would you give to entrepreneurs would be the most helpful for us to really become even more successful than we all are?
Well, number one, if you find something you're passionate about, be it on the product end, if you're in network marketing, for example, or if you're not network marketing, for example, hey, nobody wants to go to work and sell a product that they don't believe in. So find something that you actually believe in. Okay, number one. Number two, find a mentor. Find somebody who successfully did it. That's what President Reagan shared with myself and 4,000 other people that day. I don't know what the other 3,999 did, okay, but
they probably weren't listening, or they forgot.
Exactly. Well, once again, I don't know what they did, but I know what I did was I had found some mentors. Okay, one specific one that became my network marketing mentor, who I actually met about a month after I met President Reagan. I met my network marketing mentor, guy named Larry Thompson, who's a neighbor of yours, actually lives over in Prosper. And Larry said something that he had gotten from Jim Rohn, the great, late great Jim Rohn. And Jim had said, for things to change, you have to change. And for things to get better, you have to get better. And man, that made so much sense to me, Doc. It just was like, wow, hey, in other words, once again, if it's to be, it's up to me. It's not up to the government. It's not up to my parents. It's not up to my sisters. It's not up to my next door neighbor. It's not up to.
You're kidding me.
Right. It's like, wow, like I actually have a role in my life. I didn't know that. And I think once again, but that advice is, folks, find something that you would get up in the morning and you would talk about for free. Because if you find something that you would talk about for free, it means you've got passion towards it. And if you would talk about it for free, find something that also will pay you to talk about it. Okay. Once again, be it a product, maybe it's a service, right? Maybe it's ministry, maybe it's whatever it happens to be, where you say, hey, when I get up in the morning, I would talk about that to my spouse until she says, hey, that's enough. Come on, let's change the subject, right? And that's the greatest advice I can give anybody. And is just find that thing where you say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to do this. And then boy, oh boy, if the company didn't pay me, I would still do it.
Well, we always go back to the Bible on the wisdom from the Bible, and biblically, that it's ask and you shall receive. So in this specific instance, that what do we ask for? Ask for what is my passion if you haven't found it already. And God will deliver that to you. And just like with you, John, that you got, President Reagan got you fired up. And then that helped you with your passion on, hey, I like this network, marketing, I see. And then the next step comes where God brings you your mentor. And, it's just that next step. And God is always there to answer our prayers and to give us what we want. But we have to think about what we want, and we have to ask for what we want, because we have free will. And so God's not going to intervene unless we ask. And so it's kind of like, wow, it's great having all this freedom. But we just can't sit back. We have to be doing the asking and really finding that passion. So for all of you out there, if you haven't found your passion, that simply ask, I want to know what my passion is, and then pay attention and be aware, and it'll lead you, God will lead you to just some amazing ways to all of a sudden you're right on top of your passion.
Well, and that goes back, to the Bible, and it also goes to being specific in what it is, right? It's like, somebody says, well, I want to start a home-based business because I want to buy a new car.
Right.
And my question to them is, okay, what car? Well, a car. No. A car could be $1,000 car. It could be a $50,000 car. Okay. It could be an electric car. It could be a gas car. In other words, tell me what the car looks like. Well, I want to buy a Mercedes, whatever the model is. Okay, great. So we got the brand, we got the model. Okay. What year? Are we buying new or are we buying used? Okay. What color is it? What are the options? Are we talking 2-door or 4-door, right? Depending on, the model once again, right? Because once again, your mind locks into specificity. Is what I find. Okay. And I find this as somebody who's been in the athletic realm as well. Okay. I've been around guys that have won the Olympics, for example, in a variety of different sports.
Right.
Man, here's what I'm going to do. Now, the goal is an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah. Right.
Now, what do I have to do to get there? What is the preparation? What is the process? What is the training? What are the years I'm going to devote to this? Right. We're watching the end of a great career in Tom Brady. I don't know when it's going to end, whether it's this year or down the road, but you look at Brady. Brady is a guy, like when I say leaving nothing to chance or leave nothing to chance, Brady is a guy that when you read about him, he's still to this day, all these years, all the records, all the Super Bowl rings, all the accomplishment. He still is a guy who prepares like he was in high school. His sock, I was reading this about him, his socks, the eye stuff that they wear, to dim out the lights. All of those things, he does not trust a trainer to do. He, to this day, Saturday night for a Sunday afternoon game, He's got those things laid out. Well, you wonder why the guy's got 7 Super Bowl rings?
Right.
Preparation, right? You
Yeah.
find any successful businessman or woman, right, that's been super successful. They
Yeah.
don't leave anything to chance. What do? They prepare. You find that Olympic athlete, he or she prepared to get there. So all of a sudden you go, oh wow, this person did this or they did that great accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then you backtrack with them and you find out that great accomplishment started 5 years, 7 years, 9 years, 10 years before with their preparation. You find any educated person, for example, somebody gets a whatever the degree is, an advanced degree or even a regular degree.
Right.
The preparation started beforehand. And that's where people need guidance. They need to realize like dreams and accomplishments come as a result of preparing and going through the day by day, brick by brick process of preparing themselves for that day when they have to perform at a high level.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to take, the results aren't going to, you don't have to wait years for that it's all a matter of your expectation. And again, for the gold medal or whatever, but for progress to happen. And in fact, just this morning, and so you're actually, what you shared with me, a couple of thoughts came, and one is that a lady, and I'm reading it from a text, that she goes, Dr. Hank, I've been doing what you coached me to do, and I have attracted 2 amazing leaders, which is a big deal. I just started coaching with her in a week. And she goes on, it's truly amazing. I was doing the work for 2 years with this team, but changing my mindset changes everything. I was like a hamster on a wheel for 2 years. And at one point, I even thought maybe God doesn't want me to be successful at this business. Thanks to you, I've broken through to my dreams. And so it can be just one thought, to just change that thought. And that's where this idea about, out of your 3 points on find your passion, believe in it, and find a mentor. And so it's as easy as that. But John, I want to share with you, last time when we were together, you shared an amazing, intimate, personal story with us, and that'll be out again in the beginning of October. And it brought tears to my eyes, and I think to everybody that watches it, and just how authentic and amazing that you are. That I wanted to share with you because you brought up this idea about a car costing $1,000. Well, this was back in March. I always have in my wallet big bills. I like to have like $100 bills, at least a couple of them, whatever. And the reason why I do is whenever I see anybody asking, and so I don't put any judgment into this at all, whenever I see them asking, and so someone was under a bridge and he was asking for money, and I always open up my wallet and I give them the largest bill that I have, and usually it's $100. Well, I gave this one individual $100, and again, this is now 9 months ago, and it's almost like birthing a baby from this, and it's just this ripple effect that we all have. So I'm in an Uber car just last week, and this Uber driver is sharing with me about how he was homeless just 9 months ago. And I went, oh my gosh, you were homeless. And he goes, yeah. Well, I was begging under a bridge, and a car came by, and this guy out of the blue gave me $100. And that $100 helped me to have faith that in people and life and everything. And that day he decided to stop drinking. And he also was able to buy $1,000 car.
Wow.
So this idea about that, I didn't even know there was $1,000 car available. And because it was in such bad condition, he started out doing Uber Eats. And Uber Eats, they don't require, a car. And so he was able to start making money. And he just had bought like a month ago, a car, like a 2020 car, a couple of years old, but a nice enough car to do Uber now. And all of a sudden, he and I at the same time, he was at a stoplight and he turned and he goes, "Oh my God, that was you." I go, that I remember giving, you. And when I looked at him, it was the first time that I could see his full face. And there he was. And so it's these little things on how we can just spur for ourselves and for others to take a homeless guy and have him stop drinking and give him hope, And so we're all here to give each other hope, and we're all tied together with this, with God. And so it is really remarkable, and I know on how many people that you have helped, and it's kind of like you have been this it's a clear pond, and there's no ripples at all, and you just come into that pond, John, and you get those ripple effects where you have helped so many people, countless people, and with this wisdom that you have shared today.
Well, thank you. And when I look back on my life, I think it's something that, that Jim Rohn taught me many years ago. And I only met Jim once, and it was a great meeting, Hank. And I wanted to share with your listeners real quick.
Absolutely.
It was here in Dallas. Okay, used to be. I don't know if it's still here or not. Del Frisco's down on
Del Frisco's. It changed. Yeah.
So we had lunch there, myself and him and two colleagues, one of which has passed away, the other that's quite elderly now. And I'll never forget this. That Mr. Rohn said, we were sitting there and we finished lunch, and he looked at my two colleagues who were older than I was, and he said, I've kind of given up on these guys, but I haven't given up on you yet. And I said, I know exactly what he was saying. I said, excuse me 1 minute. I ran to my car and got my journal. And I'll never forget, when I came back, he said, I'm glad you got your journal so you can write things down. He goes, but it's not so important what I say. And it's not so important what these two other guys said. He goes, what if the waiter comes over and has some profound thing that he says, and you never see the guy again? And when you write it down, it's yours forever. And I think about that a lot when I do my own interviews on my show. I think, it's that moment when somebody says something, and maybe they even forgot what they said, that changes your life, right? That it's that one idea, or it's that one quote, or it's that one expression that all of a sudden gets you, and you say, wow, I'm going to go forward because of that. And you never stop. And that's kind of, when I think about all the people we've worked with over these 40 years in April, that I'm doing direct selling. And I think about it because, to your point, people come up to me that I don't even know. And they say, you said this, or you said that, or I read this in your book, or I heard you say this and I don't even know them, but they say, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I sent my kid to a better school.
Right.
I made enough extra money to move a zip code out of maybe a place that I shouldn't have been living because it was dangerous. And I was upgrade a little bit my life, or whatever it is. And you've got the same thing. People come back, like that lady who wrote you that letter. And she used a great word in there, by the way, mindset.
Yeah.
You and I could probably talk for an hour about mindset, but
maybe a few more hours than that.
A few more. And if we got some of our colleagues on, it could be a series just on that one word. And I think about that word sometimes, Doctor. When I think about it with some of the people I know, be it in athletics or be it in business, that have really become something. Something really significant. And here's what they've all got. They've all got a great mindset. And it's like, just get out of their way. Just like, okay, they got it, move away, let them do their thing. And what always thrills me is it's not so much what I've done. And we've done well. We've done well financially. We've had a great life. We've been all over the world and everything. But it's when I see other people who've grown past what I taught them. Where they're writing the books now, they're doing the webinars, they're giving the speeches, and maybe they're nice and they're in front of the room and they quote you, or they point at you and say, I got this or that from that guy over there. That's great. But even if they don't do that,
Yeah.
It's to see them grow, and that next generation affects the next generation.
Yeah.
Right. That people get the right information. And, it all starts, as you and I both know, it all starts, with the Lord himself, and
Right.
goes from there. Right. He was the first network marketer. He started with 12 guys. One let him down pretty badly, but the other 11 built a pretty good organization,
That's for sure. And so, yeah, more words of wisdom. And I just love, on how I think even back in 1930, Think, Feel, and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill wrote. And I then, because of his inspiration, I then wrote the book, Think, Feel, and Grow Rich, because of the feeling. They had actually edited the word vibration 37 times out of this book, and it just gets better and better. And so, yeah, that to excel. In fact, I'm looking for, a mentor or mentors in order to really take over the reins, if you will, and be able to, continue this teaching to help people become their greatest possibility. Well, with that, John, I really thank you. That you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Dr. Hill, and this would be a great two points I'll make. When I interview people, I always take notes.
Yeah, me too.
because I'm still the student, right? I mean, I'm still learning. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. As long as I'm still breathing, I'm still taking the notes, right? Because like Mr. Rohn said, right, when you're gone, your coffee table is not going to have a lot of value to your kids and grandkids, but your books and your notes will, right? But you mentioned Dr. Hill for a second, so I got to look at my notes, because on my computer here, I've always got my little yellow sticky. So I interviewed a guy, and I'm not making up his name. His name is Ben Gay, like the ointment, and he's taking a lot of ribbing over that. But Ben Gay the third, still alive. He's in his 80s. Great guy, lives out in California. But Ben Gay, when I interviewed him about a year ago, he was the last person mentored by Dr. Hill.
Wow.
Hill was in his 80s.
Yeah.
Ben was in his 20s. Ben had become CEO of a company called Holiday Magic back this was in the late 1960s, I believe. I might be off a couple of years on my time frame. But I said to him in closing, I said, okay, so you were able to walk down the hall and have lunch with Napoleon Hill every day, Monday through Friday. He said, not only that, he said, we had a real relationship, not just business. We really became friends. And I said, okay, what 3 things did he teach you?
Yeah.
And he said, these 3 things are the most important. Number 1, integrity in all things. When the camera's rolling, when the camera's not rolling, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, focus on whatever the task at hand is. And number 3, the most important one that Dr. Hill shared with him, was take action. And for all your great listeners out there, hey, take action. Dr. Hank can help you take action. You want to read my stuff, you want to listen to my podcast, we can help you take action. If you're in network marketing, you're not happy where you are, and maybe you want to look at what I'm doing, great. Maybe you want to look at something else, you want my opinion, hey, send me an email. Solleder, Solleder at AOL.com. I'll help you, and you'll find I'm non-prejudicial. Okay, I know a lot of companies. Okay, and we're in a lot of change, by the way, in the direct selling world right now for a lot of different reasons. Some economic, and some regulatory, and some just stay at, like anything. There's evolution going on in our business model. But my final word to you would be, folks. Okay, like Dr. Hill told Ben Gay, take action. Okay, the world is available for you to prosper from, not to take advantage of people, but to prosper from. Take advantage of it. And if you're here like Dr. Hank and I am, and you're American, and you realize what I said earlier, okay, how many people are willing to risk their lives to cross rivers and take rafts to get here because of capitalism? We got the greatest show on earth. And a lot of our politicians have forgot that. Yeah. They forgot that. You don't forget that. And you, as an entrepreneur, go out and whatever you do for a living, be the best version of yourself, lead other people, help other people, bless other people, most importantly.
Amen. John Solleder, and he is leaving nothing to chance. And John, we thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your wisdom. And again, contact John, and he's available to help. Contact me, I'm available to help. Mine is easy, drhank at drhank.biz, B-I-Z. And we really invite you and welcome you to come. We want to help you be, do, and have everything that you want. We want your dreams to come true. And so with that, this is Dr. Hank thanking you all for watching. That again, connect with us, see how we can help you, help each other to have all of our dreams come true. And so we thank you for this, and know that everything that you want is coming your way. Thanks again, John. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Doctor. Likewise.